So now when we are going to talk about Python, at the same point of time, if you are working in a machine, in your laptop, on your desktop or anything, at the same point of time, if you want to use Python or if you want to use a functionality of Python, you need an environment for writing your codes and everything in Python. So by default, if you will directly code on Python, it will, like, for example, if you open your notepad and you want to code on Python, it will not work. So you must need an environment for running your Python scripts. And scripts are basically codes. So now there are two different ways. One is by which you can install a software that can help you to get an environment in which you can write your Python codes, which will be your Jupyter notebook. So if you are a person who uses Jupyter notebook, then also it's fine. But in this course, I will try to do everything online. So now we are going to do each and everything from the first class from Google Colab only. So how many of you are aware about Google Colab? How many of you have used Google Colab in your complete journey of Python? Anybody who have used Google Colab? Just ping yes in the chat box. Yeah. So if I talk about Google Colab, see, Google Colab is very interactive. Why it is interactive? Because see, for example, if you are writing your code on Google Colab, at every point of time, that code will get automatically saved on your drive. So for example, if I am going to start my first class today, so till all the 14 classes or 13 classes, I will do each and everything on Google Colab. So all the things that I'm going to write or I'm going to present in front of you will be automatically saved on your Google Drives. And whenever you want to access them, you can access them easily. So there will be no loss of data in between. So that's why I decided to run this entire program on Google Colab. Now let's try to understand how we can actually use Google Colab. So I'm on my screen right now, and I just want you to follow the steps. And one more request from my side is, see, if you want to learn Python in a good sense, if you want to learn Python to exactly crack the interviews, do each and everything along with me. So from today's class only, do each and everything along with me. So now I'm going to write here Google Colab. I'm going to write here Google Colab. See, when I will write Google Colab here, something like this with yellow icon will be there. So you have to click on this Google Colab thing. I clicked enter on it. Now, after that, there are two options, Open Colab and New Notebook. So notebook is basically, just understand a notebook, like for example, if you want to write code for, like you have built an app and you want to write a code for that app. So what you will do, you will not mess up with everything. You will write a separate code in a separate notebook. So notebook is basically an entire structure in which you can write your specific codes that you want for a particular architecture. So now what I will do is I will click on new notebook because I am going to start from today. So I will click on a new notebook and I will save each and everything that is related to that in this class in that notebook only. So I will click on new notebook now. So after clicking on new notebook, see, you will get an interface like this. This is your interface. Now, what you have to do is first, if you want to change the name of the notebook, you can change. So I will change the name as Python classes. Now in your drive, this notebook will automatically be saved as a name of Python classes.ipnb. So ipnb is a file name or a Python file name. So if you, for example, if you want to save your HTML file, you write .html. If you want to save your SQL file, then you write .sql. So if you want to save your Python file is saved in ipnb or .py, .ipnb or .py. So in Google Colab, our file is saved in the form of .ipnb. So this is basically like file thing. If you want to store your Python file, then you have to use this PyPNB thing. Now, in this whole interface, right now they have enabled AI also, but we are not going to use any AI here because then it will be very simple. So now what we will do is we will click on connect. You are seeing here, this is the connect symbol here. Now, after clicking on connect, your complete laptop will be in an environment in which you can use a Python code on Google Colab. So it directly connects with your machine and it makes your machine to get an environment in which you can use Google Colab as a Python editor. So now see, your machine is connected and your everything is connected. Now you are ready to write Python codes on Google Colab. Is everybody clear till here? Is everybody clear? Okay. So now, what is this thing? So this thing is basically a code cell. You can understand a code cell. So for example, if I am going to write a code and I finished writing that code, I can click on plus code. So now I will get a different cell in which I can write my new code. So basically, these are the cells in which you can write your Python code. Now you are seeing this play button. Now, for example, if you have written your code and you want to run that code, basically running a code basically means, so first understand Python is a programming language. So Python is a user friendly language in which with the normal English grammar things, English grammar syntax, you can talk with machine and you can make machine work for you. So basically it's a programming language. So now when I'm talking about a programming language, so I have to write code for that. So code, you can name it code also, you can name it script also. So if you're like, if someone tells you, I have written a Python script, basically that Python script basically means the Python code only. So now if I'm going to write a code or I'm going to give an instruction to my machine, if I'm going to give an instruction to my machine in Python, I have to write a Python code. Now, how I will let my instruction to talk with the machine, I have to click on run. So once I will click on run, or the code that I have written will have some functionality, and that functionality will interact with the machine and give me a desired output that I want. So basically, once you will click on this play button, your Python code will run, and the things that you have written in your Python code, they will interact with the machine and they will give you an output, a desired output that you want. So now this is our cell first in which we are going to write our Python code. So now, first thing, that Python is very easy language. Now, people who think that Python is not an easy language and it's tricky or difficult, and the people who are not from tech background, they think that they are not able to code. They cannot code. But the main thing is you can code. It's very simple to code in Python. Just you have to be attentive in my classes, and after like 5 to 6 classes you will feel confident that yeah, you can code in Python. Coding in Python is very easy, because if you will talk about any other languages like C++, Java or C, in that if you are writing even a print statement, for example, if you want to print your name, if for example if you want to print your name, you want machine to print your name, so at that point of time in other programming languages you have to write different syntaxes to get a single print on your screen. But in Python there are multiple inbuilt functions. So first I will tell you how to comment in Python. So if you are writing hash here, if you are writing hash here, now each and everything that you are going to write on the screen will not be will not get executed if you click on this play button. So for example, I have written inbuilt functions. So now, for example, if I'm going to run it, it will not give me any output because see, I have used a hash here. So hash is basically used for commenting anything. So for example, if I have written a code, I have written a complete code. And in that complete code, in few of the lines, I have written something with the hash at starting. So those lines will not be able to run or executed because they are commented lines. So comments are basically used to understand the code. So for example, if a person is building a game and he has written a lot of codes in Python. Now, if you are a person who wants to understand that, how you will understand that code? So these comments will help you to understand each and every block of code that the person has written. So these are the comments. Now, Python has lot of inbuilt functions. Like Python has lot of inbuilt functions. So inbuilt functions are the functions whose functionality is automatically in the Python. So for example, I have given you a lot of time. I have given you a microwave example. So for example, if you want to cook some food in your microwave, what you do is you put some raw material in your microwave, and after a certain amount of time, you get some cooked material from there. So you don't know what exactly is going inside microwave. You don't know how microwave is functioning and how the things are happening, but you are getting an end result. So inbuilt functions are the functions whose functionality is previously made. You are just using those functions to get your thing. So Python has lot of inbuilt functions that will make your life easy to understand this programming language. And we are not going in inbuilt functions or anything right now. The main agenda was to tell you like why Python is easy. Now, there is something known as print. So many of you know about print. Like what is print? So print is basically used to print something on your screen or print something on your notebook or the thing that you are using right now. So for example, if I have written print, just understand this block of code as compiler. So what is a compiler? When you are writing a Python code, compiler interacts with this code and checks this code line by line in Python and gives you the output. So I have written print here. See, I have used a opening and close parenthesis here. I have used an open and close parenthesis here, which tells me that print is basically a function. Print is basically an inbuilt function, which is used to print something on a screen. So now if I have written print hello world, and if I'll run it, I will get hello world as an output because I have used print functionality to print something on my screen, which is hello world. Now, this hello world is a type of a string. Is a type of a string. So every time when you are writing some string, you can enclose it with a single inverted comma or a double inverted comma. So you can use a single inverted comma also. You can use a double inverted comma also. So this is our first thing when we are going to learn Python. So like how to print something on Python. Now, in this block of code, I have written this much thing only. Now we'll go to block number 2. We'll click on plus code and now we'll write our other codes. Now, before entering into Python world, before writing any exact amount of codes or anything, we have to understand something known as data types, and variables. Now, what are data types and variables? So see, when you are going to enter something in Python, for example, if you want to enter something or if you want to use something in the form of numbers. So if you want to store, if you want to store 1, 2, 3, 4, comma, -5, -6, or any number or any numerical value or any integer value, if you want to store any kind of these values, which data type you will use? Because data type is basically a container in which we put some specific kind of values. So if you want to save these kind of values, then tell me which data type you will use. If you know a little bit SQL, you know which data type you will use. Int, correct. Now, if I want to store alphabetical values, like single A, my name, or anything. If we want to store this kind of value, then what data type we will use in Python? Then we will use string data type. String data type, which is denoted as str in Python. I will tell you all these things in a detail. Don't worry, just understand it right now in a like overview kind of thing. Now, if we want to store decimal values, so at that point of time, what we will use is float. So decimal values are values like this: 1.2, 0.2, 0.3, these kind of values, like decimal values, then we have to use float here. So these are three type of things that are basically necessary if you want to code in Python. So now, for example, if I have written print, 5 cross 2, if I have written print 5 cross 2, what will be the output here? Okay, let's leave it right now. First, we'll understand a different. See, you are good with data types. Like you are able to understand three type of data types that you will use, and these three type of data types are basically necessary in all type of codes that you are going to write in forward things. Now, after this three type of data types, we'll try to understand basically when you are using Python. It will not be an error, Imran. When you are using Python, you have to be very clear that in Python, it is a case sensitive language. It's a case sensitive language. Now, what do you mean by case sensitive language? See, if in Python, a function or any variable or anything is written with small letters or capital letters or a group of small or capital letters, you have to use it same. So for example, if a function is there and it is written in capital letters, and now if you want to use that function and you are writing it in small letters in Python, it will not work. So in SQL, this will work because SQL we have different like SQL is not case sensitive, but Python is case sensitive. So if you are using something in small letters, then you have to write that thing in small letters only. So these are all the things you will understand when I will write a code here. But just understand case sensitive means a thing that is defined with a certain kind of a string value or anything, you have to use it like same. You cannot change it. So for example, if I have written here A is equal to 1, 2, 3, and I am writing here print A, what will be the output? Do you think it will give me an output? No, because see, you have defined small a as 1, 2, 3, and you are using capital A here. So now Python doesn't know that what is this capital A. Compiler is not getting to know that what is this capital A. So you have to use here small a only. Now, if you will run it, it will get you 1, 2, 3 printed on a screen. You have to be very careful in Python that whenever you are using Python, you have to take care of case sensitivity. Now, after this, we are going to talk about some basic operators in Python, like mathematical operators. So this is our very basic class. So don't worry, I'm going to teach you with a very slow pace. So now we'll talk about mathematical operators. So now if I have written print 1 plus 2, what will be the output? If I have written 1 plus 2, the output will be 3. So plus is basically a addition operator, same like maths. So now if I have written 1 cross 2, so what will be the output if I've written 1 cross 2? Let's do one more thing. I'm writing here print 1 cross 2. The output will be 2 only. So this basically, this asterisk or this cross is basically used for multiplying. Very simple. If I am writing here 1 by 2, what will be the output? You will get an output 0.5. Very simple. It is used for division thing. Now, if I am writing print 1 minus 2, the answer will be -1. So these are 4 things that you already know: plus, minus, addition, like subtraction. Now, there are some different operators also. Now, for example, if I have written print 1 double cross 2, then what will be the output? If I have written double asterisk 2, then it will work like 1 whose power is 2. So 1 the power 2 will be 1 into 1. So now, if I have written here 2 double asterisk 4, then what will be the output? My answer will be 16. Okay. So now if I have written 1 double divide by 2, like 1 double slash 2, then what will be the output? So if I have written 1 double slash 2, it will always give me an output 0. Because see, whenever you are using double slash, at the same point of time, it always gives you a floor value. So now tell me, if I'm doing 3 double divide by 5, if I'm doing 3 double divide by 5, what will be the output? If we'll do a normal 3 divided by 5, we'll get an output 0.6. You will get an output 0.6 if you'll do a normal divide on this. But see, every point of time, if you are using a double divide, the value before point will be your answer. So the value before point is your floor value. So every time when you are using a double divide, you get a floor value, which is 0 here. Now, the question is, every time if we want to print something, do we have to write print? Let's check. If I'm writing 2 cross 3, let's run it. See, we are getting 6. So we don't actually, every time if you want to print something, you don't need print. So if I'm multiplying these two things, automatically I'm getting 6 answer. But I will suggest you, when you want to print something, use print function, because this will help you afterwards. Now, I will tell you what are variables. So suppose, let's delete it and get on the new one. So for example, I want to add two numbers. So if I want to add two numbers, I will first define or store them there. Like I will store these numbers or those numbers somewhere. So I want to store my first number in 2, and I want to store my second number in B. So I have written A equal to 2 and B equal to 3. I have written A equal to 2, B equal to 3. Now, what is this A? Who will tell me what is this A? So basically, this A is your variable. This A is your A comma B are your variables. So variable is something that stores a specific value. Or if you want to store something and you want to use it afterwards, then you have to store that thing in your variables. So now if I'm giving A equal to 2, which means A is stored in my variable. Now if I'm going to write print A plus B, then what will be the output? The output will be 5. Very simple. Okay. Now what we will do is we'll try to understand these variables concept. So now if I have written A is equal to 2, now how you will get to know, that what is the exact data type of A. If I'm writing A equal to 2, then how you will get the data type of A? Because in SQL, you first define something, then you drop the value. But right now you have directly dropped the value. So if you want to check the data type of this A, you have to write type. And then inside that, you have to write A. And you have to click on this run. So data type of this is int. And the another way that you can directly get to know is, see, if you have given an integer value, then always the data type will be integer. If you have given a string value, then the data type will be string. If you have given float value, then the data type will be float. So you can automatically get this thing, but if you want to be very sure, you can use type. Now, after this, if I'm going to write, now we'll talk about some like logical operators or some different types of operators. I'm not going to a detail of kinds of operators because I know that everybody can learn that thing on YouTube or anywhere. We'll directly try to start what are the operators that we are going to use here. So now first we'll talk about equal to. So what do you understand by this equal to? So if you are writing a equal to at somewhere, like for example, I have written A equal to 2, B equal to 3. So this equal to is basically used for assigning a value. So if I have written A equal to 2, which means I am assigning a value 2 to my A variable. So equal to is basically used for assigning a value. So if I am writing double equal to, so double equal to is used for comparing a value. Comparing a value. If I have used double equal to, then it is used for comparing a value. Now the third thing is greater than, less than, or equal to greater than, or less, like equal to less than. Sorry, I've written something wrong. If you are using greater than equal to or less than equal to. So these are what kind of operators? Tell me. In these kind of operators, what you do is you compare. You compare. So these are comparing operators. Like if you want to compare something, you have to use greater than, less than, greater than equal to, or less than equal to. Now, if I want to write something known as not equal to, if I'm right, if I want to check that something, whether if I want to compare something, let's understand. If I want to compare something and I want to do a comparison in not equal terms, like whether this thing is not equal to this thing or not. So what we will use, what we use in Python, if we want to check not equal condition. Here in Python, we use exclamation mark and equal to. So exclamation mark is basically used for not. So if you want to check anything which is not equal to something, then you have to use exclamation mark and equal to. Now, there are, after this, these are some kind of operators, and we'll learn more operators in this. But right now in first class, these much operators are more than enough. Now, after this operators, we have some kind of conditions. Conditions. So now in SQL, tell me, in SQL, what you use for conditions? No, you use where clause for condition in SQL. Correct. But now in Python, we use something known as if. And if comes with else, if else, sorry, else if. These are the three things that you must know when you are talking about if. So if you have learned anyhow case condition or case operator in SQL, then you will be familiar to this thing. But if you're not familiar, no problem. I will make you understand all this if, else, and else if. So now we'll talk about this if, else, and else if. So now we are okay with the brief theory. Now we are going to write the codes now. So now we'll write a code first. So my first code will be check. So take two numbers and check which one is greater, or print the greatest one. So now if I have given you this question, then there can be two types of things with this question. Now, what are the two type of things? So first I will do it in a very simple way. What I will do is I will write A and I will assign a value to A, which is 8. Now I will take B and I will assign a value to B, which is 9. Now I will write a condition if, agar. So if is basically used for writing a condition. If A is greater than B, if A is greater than B. So now why I have left this space here? So in Python, you must be aware about indentation. So indentation is something when you are leaving a space from beginning in a line, when you are writing a code in Python, that is something known as indentation. So Python is an indentation language. You cannot write something like this. After this, you cannot write, like you cannot start from scratch. And this thing will come with practice. But right now in the compilers only, if you will write a condition or if you will write a if clause, and after that you will write a colon. So if I'm using if and I'm writing a colon here and I will click on enter, by default, it will make me from here. But for example, if in any compiler you are not getting this by default, then what you have to do, if you are getting from starting, you have to put a tab here. So every time when you are using a colon, after using that colon, you will have to take care of indentation. You cannot start from scratch after using a colon. And if you want to give any condition or anything, you have to use a colon. So I have written if A greater than B, and I will come down. Now I will write print. If A is greater than B, I will give an output. A is greatest. Now, if this condition is not happening, then what I will do is in if you are using if, there comes a else also. So I know that if I want to check two numbers only, so I have written if A is greater than B. So which means agar A B se bada hai, If A is greater than B, then automatically we have to print A is the greatest. But if A is not greater than B, then our else condition will come. And again, we are using a colon, which means we will not use it from starting. So I will print B is greatest. Now I will write. And one more thing. See, if else are part of same thing, if else and else if. So if you are writing if here, then you have to start else from the same thing. And else if also, if else if is there, then you have to start else if from the same thing. You will not write it from here. You have to start it from here only. So if comes with else. So if you have started if here, then first condition is over. Now you have to use else here and you have to write your second value that you want to give as an output. Now in Python, there is something that many of the people don't know. See, in Python, if you are running a code in Python, code compilation, like compiling your code and giving you an output, it starts from the line 1. So Python will read line first. So there is something known as interpreter. When you are writing a code, your code is interpreted from line first to line last in Python. So first the code compilation will be done on line first and it will absorb 8 as A. Now second line will come, it will absorb B as 9. Now it will see the third line. If A is greater than B, if this condition is correct, then it will go to this thing and your problem is solved. Your code is done. For example, if this condition is wrong, then only it will go to this condition. So if this condition is wrong, this part will be skipped and it will be automatically moved to the next part, which is else. Any questions here? The thing that I have told you right now, if you have any questions, you can ask. So in Python, compilation starts from line first to line last. And if any condition is not valid, it will not go to that block of condition. It will directly jump to the next block of that condition. So now if I'll run this, see, I am getting an output. B is the greatest because see, 8 and 9 is the greatest. So I'm getting B is the greatest. Now I have to do the same question, but this time I don't want to give this 8 and 9 myself. Now there is something known as how to take user input in Python. Now, many of the times you have seen when you are going on any digital platform like Amazon or anywhere, if you are going on any software, any kind of app, which is Amazon or Flipkart, anywhere, you must see they ask you your contact details. So when they ask you your contact details, are they filling your contact details themselves or they are asking input from you? So at that point of time, they are asking input from you because they don't know your details. Here I have written the things and I know these things. But for example, if you are using a website or anything and they want details from you, which means they want details from the user. So if you want to take anything as a user input in Python, if you want to take anything as a user input in Python, how you will take it? So I will tell you. So there is simple thing. If you want to take anything as a user input in Python, you have to write A is equal to input. Now, when this line will get executed, it will ask you a value. And then you will put that value and it will give you an output. Let's see what will happen. I have written A is equal to input and I have written print A. See, it will ask me the input value. So for example, if I have written input value as 2, I am getting output as 2. Now, who will tell me what is the data type of this A? What will be the data type of this A? The data type of this A will be string. Now people will get confused. You have written 2, why it is a string? See, understand. Whenever you are taking input like this, see, this is the standard thing when you want to take user from input, like when you want to take input from the user, this is the standard thing. But with this standard thing, it always takes the input in the form of string. If you have used only input, then it will always take everything that you will write in the form of string. So now that one is not this one, that one is this kind of one. So it is a string value. Now, how we will take an input value? How we will take a numerical value? The question will be how we can take a numerical value. So there is something known as typecasting. Typecasting. So you know what is a type. So type is basically a data type. Now, for example, if I want to make this string thing into an integer thing, if I want to make this string thing into an integer thing, so what I have to do is I just have to write a int here and I have to put a open and close parenthesis inside it. Now the thing that I am going to take will be automatically casted as int, which means its data type will change from string to int. So if you want to take user input as integer, then you have to use int here and you have to write input inside. Now, if I want to give the message to the user, like what I want to enter. So I am giving a message to the user. Enter your number A, because I want to make this interactive. I want user to understand what I am asking. So let's run this right now. Enter your number A. So I have written 22. So 22 is getting printed. Now, for example, if I want to check the data type now, so I will write type here, type of A. So I will write 2 here, and it is int right now because I have casted it. I have typecasted it. And if you want to give any instruction to the user, then you can write that instruction inside the input thing. So now, for example, if I have used string here, if I have used string here, sorry, in integer here, if I have used integer input. So for example, if I want to take something known as Abhishek, it will take Abhishek, yes or no? It will take Abhishek, yes or no? It will not take Abhishek because Abhishek is something that cannot be casted into a integer. See, first the line will come on input only. So it has taken input as Abhishek, but now it will cast it into integer. And Abhishek cannot be casted into an integer because Abhishek is a string only. Like if you want to make something an integer, that thing must falls under the integer domain. So Abhishek is not falling into the integer domain because it's not a numerical 1, 2, 3 kind of value. So it will not give me any output. So if I will click, if I'll run it here, like I'll press enter, see, it will tell me that invalid literal for int, which means this value cannot be casted to int. Abhishek cannot be casted to int. Are you clear with this part, everyone? If you people have any question, you can ask till here. Now, if I want to write a code, like I am going to write a code input three numbers from the user, input three numbers from the user and find the maximum one. Find the maximum one. So now who will tell me to like how I will write this code? Please write the code in the chat box. Don't care about indentation, just write the code in the chat box. So I will take my number A and I want to make this code interactive. So I will tell the user what I want. So I will write enter A and I will cast it into the integer because I want to use this number as integer. Now I will write B int input and I will give them a instruction enter B. Now I will take a C and I will write int input enter C. Now tell me if I want to check, if I want to find out the greatest number out of three numbers, how I can get that? So now in this question, you will use two different operators that I haven't told you till now, which are and, comma, or operators. Now I will write a condition if A is greater than B and A is greater than C. Tell me, if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then which number is greatest? A is the greatest one. So I will write print and I will write that I will print that number also. So I will print A also, the number, and along with it, I will use a comma and I will write a string also. Is the greatest. So we can print two things in a single print function. When you will see the output, you will understand. Now, after if, now in this question, how many conditions will be there? Whether there will be two conditions or three conditions in this question. Three conditions. So now if you have more than two conditions, then else if comes into the picture. So because you cannot directly write your else part here. You cannot directly write your else part here. So you will use something known as else if. Else if, sorry, elif. Elif B greater than A and B greater than C, then tell me which one will be the greatest one. Print B, comma, is the greatest. Now, at last, if the chapter of A and B is over, then in the else condition, what will be there? Else print C is the greatest. Now let's run it. Enter A. It will ask me my number, enter A, 23. It will ask me my number B, 24. It will ask me my number C, 56. 56 is the greatest. 56 is the greatest. It has given me the output. 56 is the greatest. So this small piece of code that you are seeing right now, it basically it can be called as an app also or a software also. So every piece of code that you write and it will give you something with the calculation or manipulation kind of thing, then it is called as software. So this is a software that checks the greatest number among three numbers. This is basically a software or a code or script that you have created to check the greatest number out of three numbers. Now, if we have four numbers, then what we will do is, then we will not write this much code. Then we'll be a little bit smart. So how we'll be smart is, so if you want to comment anything in Python, you have to drag the thing and you have to click control and backslash, and you will be able to comment it out. So now I want to be little smart. I will just write print max of a comma b comma c. So max is a function which finds out the greatest thing from 3, 4, or n number of integers that are there. So it will give me, I will write 23, 45, 67. It will give me an output 67. So see, I am able to use something here. So which is max function. So you don't need to know max function right now. This will be a part of inbuilt function. But yeah, max is something that can automatically give you the greatest out of among the numbers that you have used. Is this thing clear? Till here, everybody is clear. So please understand one thing. Like in this class, I want to just highlight two things right now. First thing is, Python has lot of inbuilt functions which will make your code life easier. Second thing, you have to care. You have to care about indentation in Python. Like the space after a line, when you are using colon or any condition, and after that your line, like code, line of code comes directly after a space in the beginning, that is known as indentation. So Python is basically an indentation language, so you have to care about indentation in Python. Third thing, Python is case sensitive. Python is case sensitive. If you have written something in small, so you have to use it in small. Like the same thing that you have written, you have to use it in the same way, even if it is your variable also. If it is a inbuilt function in Python, then also, and if you have created a variable by yourself, then also you have to use it in the same way that you have written it. Now, fourth point, in Python, code runs line to line, starting from line first to line last. So in this Python, like SQL, there is order of execution. Once this part will run, then this part will run. In Python, it is very simple. It will start from line 1 and will go to the line last. And it is not mandatory that it will go to line last. So I will write not mandatory. Not mandatory. This not mandatory means if your Python code consists of any condition or anything, and if your condition meets at fourth line also, fourth line only, then the code that is written in the fifth line block will get executed and last one will not execute it. So just understand, don't take this last thing. Just understand that in Python, code runs line to line, starting from the line first. Now, one last thing I want to tell you is, if I have written print 12, if I have written print 13, and if I have written print 14, now tell me what will be the output. This kind of question is asked in interview. like very easy interview question. If I have written print 12, print 13, print 14, what will be the output? Okay. Imran is saying 12, 13, 14. Let's run it. The answer is 12, 13, 14. But if you will write this thing on Jupyter Notebook, then tell me what will be the output. Then the last one will be your output. Last one. So the answer of this question is not 14, not 12. The answer of this question is not 14, not 12, not 13. The answer of this question is depending upon compiler, you will get to know what kind of output you will get. So the answer is this. If you directly say 14 or if you directly say 12, 13, 14, then it's not a correct answer fully. You have to tell him that it depends on compiler. Okay. So this much is all about class today. Now I am going to give you link of this notebook in the chat right now. And I will give you in the WhatsApp also. So any one of you, please share this link in WhatsApp also, like take a copy and share it in WhatsApp also. So this much is all about the class today. And I hope you